Hey guys, thanks for joining my channel, Mortgage Advice in a Minute. I know there's a lot of things pulling your attention, but today we're going to have a real conversation about real estate and a little bit about mortgages with one of our local celebrities. All right. She's been in the game for almost a decade here in Hartford, Connecticut. She's currently the top third agent at Agora Homes. So we really appreciate your time, guys. And thank you for also subscribing to the channel. And please smash that like button. So let's jump into it. Shaniqua,
Hey,
how are you doing today?
come on.
I'm excited to have you.
Good. Thank you so much. Not as excited as I am to just be recording with you. What an honor. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. So let's just jump into it, right? Let's talk about the markets here because that's on everyone's minds, right?
Yeah.
You know, what are you seeing right now? Is it more of a seller's market here? Your market? I think you're more of Waterbury, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I am based in Waterbury, but I service all Connecticut. I am not afraid to go to the very top or the very bottom, but I am based right here in Waterbury, Connecticut. And to answer your question, as of the market, I would describe the market more or less balanced. It's a balanced market that still leans more to favoring the seller side. And I say that because the inventory, compared to last year has been much better. However, there are still more buyers that's qualified than what we have listed on the market in every price point.
Got it. And I know you've been in the business for almost a decade now, right? How many families do you serve?
Ooh, ooh.
If you had to quantify it, right?
I mean, I had the pleasure of serving all types of family. I can't give you a number, but tons of family. I've had the pleasure of serving my own family, friends of family, and the list pretty much goes on. And I'm always willing to help even more people and more families. My favorite thing is when people send me referrals because that just goes to show you that the trust is there. People are comfortable, and so the door is always open to helping more and more families.
Nice, nice. And since you've been in the business for a while, right? But let's talk about like how you've seen the market shift since you've been in.
Well,
I mean, we know that inventories are tight, right? And we know that buyers are struggling out there, right? Especially with affordability.
yeah.
How's that like impact your business?
Well, honestly, Chance, what I'll say is I think we're getting back to a healthier and a more balanced market. You remember not so long ago, there were homes that was selling within a weekend with about 20 offers on the table. People were waiving contingencies upon contingency. They were waiving everything. And
Yeah.
so those days are not as heightened as before. Now, I'm not saying people are not waiving things. They definitely are. However, buyers are now winning offers without being so extreme. And so that's why I would think it's getting back to a healthier place. But buyers have more options now. Sellers have to be a little bit more strategic and with like pricing, with presentation, even marketing. Marketing is something very big right now. Definitely, you have to be on point with the marketing.
Okay. In terms of marketing, from your perspective, like how are you marketing yourself and then your client? Because I know you do some listings as well, right? How are you marketing properties? How are you leveraging social media?
So definitely social media. Social media is definitely the wave of the game right now. And
Absolutely.
just connecting with local businesses, following up with my past clients to having them, continuously referring me out. I have a team, a small team, but we have a team that we always are using each other's platform to kind of market in the newest listing that we have so that if my audience is not catching it, maybe someone else is on the team is catching it. And so we tend to try to come together, use social media. We still are doing things like door knocking and we're making brochures and things
Old
of that
school, old
nature.
school. Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix
So,
it.
yeah. And I
You know?
love the fact that you guys are leveraging each other
hmm
from a team perspective to help your sellers. That's awesome. And I often speak to agents, and they kind of struggle with their seller's presentation, right, when they're going
Okay.
in. So I think it's a key piece if they can just just kind of stress the impact of how they leverage social media to market their properties over
Yeah,
other agents, right? So
absolutely.
let me ask you this. I mean, you've got a ton of happy clients, right? What does working with Shaniqua look like, right? Like from start to close, what does that process look like?
Okay, what does you want me to be honest?
Oh, please. That's why
Listen.
we're here, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely. So, working with me, honestly, I would say working with me feels like comfort. Yeah, I definitely think working with me feels like comfort. And I say that because I am the agent that becomes family. And I'm not talking about family like the aunt that you can't stand or
Mm,
the uncle you don't want to
mhm.
come to the cookouts.
At the cook.
But you know,
Yeah.
I'm more like the cousin that's the one that you call your favorite cousin, the
Favorite
one
cousin.
that you getting into everything with. You if that cousin is not there, you're not trying to go to the family function. Okay, so and why I say that is because I'm someone you can trust. I'm also very honest. My business is built on honesty and transparency. I'm someone who's going to answer the phone. I'm going to answer the text messages. I'm going to answer the emails. And I'm someone that's going to walk you through the process step by step by step. I don't have a problem reassuring anyone. I don't have a problem, repeating myself or just slowing things down. So that's why I'm like comfortable. I'm the cousin, I'm the cousin. And so and I also I usually my biggest thing is I like to take the time to understand people's why. Why you're buying or why you're
Mhm.
selling. Because every client has a different story.
This is true. Yeah.
No one's no I have in all my years I haven't met anyone whose story is the same from the beginning to the end. It might start off a little similar, but never the same. And so my job is to make the process feel less overwhelming and to communicate every step of the way and help you make confident decisions.
Right.
So, you know, because at the end of the day, this is a big life-changing decision and I
Oh,
need you to
absolutely. It's the
feel
biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Some people may think it's a car or, maybe some red bottoms. I don't know. But I do think buying a house may be a little bit more of a bigger deal. And so I want to bring not only confidence, but comfortability and just a lot of reassurance along with education.
Got
So,
it. Got it.
yeah.
I just lost my train of thought, but one
Sorry.
of the things that I during my assessment call or discovery call, I focus in on, hey, what is that catalyst, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
driving you to buy right now, right?
That why. Yeah.
It's hey, more space for the kids or better schools, right? Just want to get out of the same neighborhood that I'm in, safety factors, etc., right? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's important. Being having a safe place for your family to your kids to grow up. I mean, that's peace of mind, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
I know you just I've worked with you on a few transactions, and
Yeah.
I know you're a great negotiator, right? So tell us a little bit about how you're helping your clients win in this market.
Okay, give me a second, because I know you're gonna cut that.
No worries.
Cool. I told myself I can kind of calm down and not be so stressed out. So you said,
Yeah, like, how's you have strong negotiation skills, right? Like, how are
mhm.
you leveraging that to help your clients win in today's market?
Okay,
Like, what
so
what situations do you run into, on an offer, right, or on a sale that you have to overcome?
so I would say like I am definitely strategic and I am big on strategy. Because like I said, every client is different. No one
Mhm.
is the same. And so no one is like that cookie cutter real estate transaction. And so for example, for my sellers, what I'm constantly thinking of is how can we make your home present well? How can it stand out from all the other homes that's on the market? What do we need to do? Is it staging? Is it decluttering? What is it? Let's be strategic about it. And for my buyers, it's more or less, how can I make their offer be competitive, but at the same time not have them spend more money than they need to? I'm just big on education. I'm big on my clients being more confident, because I believe that confident clients make better decisions than.
Confident and comfortable, right? Like,
Yes,
and it's all about certainty in this business, right? If they have certainty, they're going to feel a lot more comfortable.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So, what do you know that other agents don't know? Share with us some inside secret that Shaniqua, I mean, I don't know if you want to share that because we don't want them getting out, but from the perspective of a buyer or seller that's going to be working with you, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
what's what's that thing, that je ne sais quoi, right?
Yeah.
Shaniqua, that
Yeah.
makes you a killer, right?
Listen, I would say, me, and this might sound a little boring, a little corny, but like I said before, it's all in the why. It's literally all in the why, because no one's transaction is the same. And like you were saying earlier, safety, and some people families are growing.
Mhm.
Some people might have had a divorce. There might be someone who's an investor, and there might be someone who is just looking for that generational wealth, or an empty nester. So I tend to focus on the why, and so that when I'm looking for the property, I won't miss anything. If I know your why, if I know what your goals are, and while I'm looking and doing the research for you, I can better zoom in and understand why you're doing this to begin with. And then everything tends to unfold, and everything, it makes it so much more intentional, and it allows the journey to just feel real. So my secret sauce, my that I shouldn't be sharing, is focusing on your client's why. Because when you are up and you are online doing your research, you can remember what it is that Susie or Timmy or Tanisha was, why is she looking to sell, or why are they looking to buy? And that will make the search so much more intentional.
Yeah, because if you know why the reason is, I recently, my client's purchasing a home in the
Hmm.
Bristol market, and I
Okay.
called the selling agent, and come to find out the reason why they needed to sell is because it used to be his father's home, right?
Oh,
And his father
okay.
needs to go into a care facility, and it's
Hmm.
very important to them. They had a previous deal that fell apart, so I had to assure them that, hey, this one is going to be good, and we're going to close, and you're going to be able to take care of your dad. So
Yeah,
that's having that piece of comfort there. It's paramount, right?
absolutely.
Listen, I'm going to work backwards a little bit. So
Okay.
what how did you get into real estate? What was your catalyst?
Okay, how did I get into real estate?
Hmm.
Family.
Okay.
And my story is a little bit unconventional. I bought my first home when I was 24 years old, and I bought my home because my mom got sick. And I was living in Long Island, and my mom was here in Connecticut, and she got sick with cancer. And so I needed to move closer. And when I bought my home, this is no shade to anyone, but the realtor wasn't, it didn't educate me. The realtor, throughout the entire process, I just did what they said. I didn't really ask questions. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know any of this type of information. But all I know is I needed to be closer to my mom. And when it was all said and done, and I had my children, and we moved into our home, we did close. I realized that all these jobs that I'm looking to move into, I needed to be a little bit more flexible with my family dynamic. And so I definitely decided that let me get into real estate, because I want to be able to educate people like the ones who didn't educate me. And I wanted more of us to be in the swing of things. And when I
Yeah.
say us,
Yeah.
I am referring to the black community. I did want more people who look like me to be able to serve me, and for me to serve others. And so I decided to literally just give it a jump, and I jumped in the game, and I realized it was the best decision for my life, because not only Does it work well with my family dynamic? I'm learning so much more about real estate that I just know I
Yeah.
didn't know when I was looking for a house.
You know,
Definitely.
it's funny that you say that. You know, you had a bad experience. Well, not bad experience, but not the greatest of experience when you're buying a
Right.
house. And I've spoken to quite a few agents, right? And it's so crazy that oftentimes the conversation is the same. Hey, how did you get into real estate? Well, I had a bad transaction when I was buying my first home, and
Yeah.
they're like, hey, there had to be a better way, right?
Right.
Like, okay, this is what I didn't get, this is what I didn't get, this is what I needed, this is what I feel my clients really need, right? To
Right.
know throughout the
Mm-hmm.
transaction, and
Mm-hmm.
then that helps them to become better agents because they want to serve and they want
Yeah.
to educate, right? Like
Yeah.
even on the mortgage side, right? I'll spend an hour with a client even though I can't help them, right?
Right. Right.
Because they just, sometimes you just key pieces that, someone who lacks the education or the knowledge, and I can still help them in life, right? Like, even though I can't help them purchase a home, there's other
Mm-hmm.
things financial aspects or pieces that they are unaware of, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, I love when I get on a call and someone's like, man, you just taught me a lot. I didn't know that, right?"
Right.
And it's
Right.
just lack of that. I don't know if it comes from just the family dynamics or the history of the family not having that, because we're a product of our environment, right?
Yes.
So I think that does play a factor
Mm-hmm.
in what everyone knows. Like, my mom came from Jamaica, third grade education, right? She didn't know a lot. She bought two homes before she passed away, right? So
Right.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So it's I can't even say, hey, it's a lack of education, because if you really want to get
Mm-hmm.
something done, you're gonna find a way, and you're gonna find the knowledge, and you're gonna find the people to help you. You
Yes.
know, I for example, I'm helping a client of mine right now, and she can't read a lick.
Okay.
But
Okay.
between myself and the agent, like, we've helped her get there, and
Yes.
it was a tough deal. This business is rugged, and you know that from being on your side, from an emotional standpoint. I think oftentimes, prospects or clients, they're under the perception that, oh, all the realtor do is open doors, and that's
Yeah.
not the case.
No.
Oh, all the lender does is push keys, and it's not the case. We
No.
fight for our clients. Like, we
Yes.
work for free till we
Yes.
get you in a home. And it's a team effort out here. Like, yeah. And I
Yeah.
wish that everyone in the
Absolutely.
business would just, work together as a community, because oftentimes I feel there's so much hostility within a transaction, right, between the parties. And
Yes.
it just boggles my mind. Like, hey, is this your first transaction, right? Like, that didn't go perfectly, and nothing, every
Mm-hmm.
single, I got a guy with 800 credit scores and the file went south, right? So there's, like you said, I impart this on all my clients, that every deal is a snowflake. Yes, your friend got a 6.5 rate and you're getting a 7%, and there's different factors here. Like,
Yes.
every deal is a snowflake. It's
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that just communicating to the clients that, hey, we're here for you, we're going to educate you, we're going to guide you, but at the same time, you have to do your due diligence as well as a client, because
Yeah.
we can't be responsible for every single piece of the transaction. You need to read your contracts. You need to look at your disclosures. If you have questions, that's what I'm here for, right? Same thing. If you have questions in regard to your contract, you got to refer back to your agent. Yeah.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And when you said, you know, real estate is totally not an independent thing. Real estate is absolutely a team sport. It's 100% team sport. Like, granted, I may be leading my clients through the process, but there are so many factors that I don't think people know. There's lenders, there's attorneys, there's inspectors, appraisers, photographers, contractors,
Mhm.
title companies, all these parties in one transaction, and
You
it
know what?
takes all of
I
us.
love the fact that you brought up appraisal, inspections, and
Hmm.
photographers, right? Could you
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit there? Because oftentimes I think that gets missed, right? Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So I feel like a lot of times when I meet clients, especially, you know, not especially, but a lot of the time, my first time home buyers who just are not quite sure on what's entailed in the transaction, and when they meet me, they think it's just me. I, like you said, I'm gonna open the door, I'm gonna show them the kitchen, I'm gonna show them their master suite, I'm gonna show them a potential man cave, and then
Welcome to an episode of HGTV.
right, and then they're like, this is the one, Shaniqua, this is the one. I want to put an offer. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm glad you like this one, right? But that is just literally not even the beginning of all that we're going to have to get into, after me. And then when I tell them there's an appraiser, and they're like, appraiser? What is that person is going to do? And I'm telling them, well, now I have to take your file and I'm sending it to the lender. The lender? I'm like, yeah, Chance, the guy you met before we went to go look at the houses, and they don't realize all these different factors in what the job of the appraiser is supposed to do and what is the job of an inspector. Like I said before, people were waiving inspections and things of that nature, and then they get to a closing table and and all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't like this, and it's like, you waived your inspection. That means you didn't want to do it, and I get it, you really wanted this house, but it's very important they know all these things and all these players in the game.
Mm-hmm. What's the old saying? Buyer beware.
Right.
Buyer beware.
Buyer beware. Literally, buyer beware. Definitely, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So I though, but I definitely appreciate the fact that all these players are in the game, because that means that, like I said, real estate is a team sport, but that also means everybody has their role. And although it's an individual team sport, we all tend to have to come together with one mind, and that's to get this client, whether it's to sell their home or buy their home, whatever.
It's a team sport.
Yeah.
The team sport, for sure. I think oftentimes they don't realize that, hey, you're going to handle the inspections,
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes you may have to even meet the appraiser if the listing agent can't do that, re-inspections, things like that, right? And then at that point, I think that's where you try to leverage that to get them a little bit, either a reduction in price, or what does that look like?
So as far as an inspection goes, so with the inspection, what happens is, the goal for the inspection is to know exactly what you're buying. We say to clients, your inspection is not to change the paint color on the walls, but there are about 4 factors that we are highly interested in. We want to know about the foundation, we want to know about the mechanics, we want to know about the electrical, plumbing, things like that. Gives us the opportunity to go back to the seller and say, hey seller, we can't buy a house that's not sound mind, so the mechanic system needs to be corrected, or things like that. It's the place where you get to view the house inside out and negotiate if need be. And when I say negotiate, I'm talking about possibly a credit, or lowering the price some way, somehow, or having the seller fix these things before they turn over the keys. It's literally that place in the transaction where you get to kind of demand certain things before you continue on with the process.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap up here. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yay.
Can you give my audience your phone number, what's your best contact, and your social media handles, as the kids say?
Come on now, you part of the young folk. You part of the young folk.
The young folk, the youngins.
Absolutely. So my best way of communication is all communication, because I'm on everything. As far as my cell phone number, which is also my direct line, it's directed to me. That number is 203-632-9263. So again, that number is 203-632-9263. I'm on Instagram. You can find me at Shaniqua Thomas _. Connecticut Realtor, and Facebook is just Shaniqua Thomas. Email address is shaniquathomas.realtor@gmail.com.
All right, guys, so we're going to wrap this one up. And hey, if Shaniqua's story resonated with you, if you're sitting there thinking about, maybe now is your moment, or, you just want to understand the Hartford real estate a little bit better, do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe. You have her contact, feel free to reach out to her. And, every week I'm going to be dropping some episodes, so stay tuned and DM me or comment for any questions that you guys may have. All right, guys, we'll see you. I'll continue to lock them and dock them, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.